Valdemar do Brito? The scouts? Yeah, it says he is looking for players for the Santos Football Club. Puxa, once he sees me play like Di Stefano, I'm going pro, baby. Wait till he sees me play like Puskas.
And I'll be like Mazzola.
And I'll be like Pelé.
Who the heck's Pelé?
Goalkeeper for Vasco.
Pelé, Bessu. His name's Pelé.
What did you do?
Wow, he scrubs floors and shine shoes. Hey, Pelé, how much for a shine? How much for a shine?
I'll win a World Cup for Brazil by, I promise.
In a small neighborhood in Brazil, a group of barefoot kids runs through dusty streets, laughing and chasing after a ball. Among them is a skinny 9-year-old boy named Deco, a boy with big dreams and empty pockets. One day, the world will know him as Pelé, but for now, he's just a child polishing shoes to earn a few coins, hoping that someday he'll finally afford a proper pair of football boots. Football is everything to Deco and his mischievous friends. The problem? They're too poor to even buy a real ball, so they improvise. They steal socks from around the neighborhood, stuff them together, and shape them into a makeshift ball. That ragged bundle of cloth becomes their treasure. They kick it through narrow alleys, toss it from rooftop to rooftop, and play endless games without letting it touch the ground. At home, Deco's mother scolds him for coming back covered in dirt. As the eldest of 3 children, he carries responsibility on his young shoulders. His father, João Ramos, once played professional football himself, but an injury cut his career short, and the sport that brought him pride never brought him money.
1-1, over 200.
One evening, inside a crowded local pub, men gather around a radio, listening to the live commentary of the 1950 World Cup final between Brazil and Uruguay. Deco's father stands among them, tense and hopeful. Outside, Deco and his friends climb onto the broken roof, pressing their ears close, desperate to hear the result. When Uruguay scores and Brazil loses, silence falls, and then tears. Deco watches from above as his father breaks down. The pain on his father's face hits him deeply, and in that heartbreaking moment, Deco makes a promise that sounds impossible for a poor boy from the streets. One day, he will win a World Cup for Brazil.
I'll win a World Cup for Brazil by, I promise.
The next morning, Deco goes to work with his mother. They clean the house of a wealthy factory owner. There, she gently explains why she doesn't want him to chase football. She has already seen what it did to his father's life after his leg injury. She doesn't want the same struggle for her son. While she steps away, a group of rich boys, including the owner's son, Jose, enter the room. They boast about famous players and talk excitedly about an upcoming local youth tournament. Deco overhears them mention that a professional scout will be attending. His heart races. Trying to join the conversation, he says the name of a famous player, but he mispronounces it as Pelé.
And I'll be like Pelé.
Pelé, Bessu.
The rich boys burst into laughter and start calling him by that name. At first, he hates it. His mother returns and forces him to apologize to Jose, even though he did nothing wrong.
I'm sorry for my son.
Me?
Before leaving, Deco quietly grabs a newspaper clipping about the tournament. Later, he gathers his friends and convinces them to enter. They have no proper shoes, barely any equipment, but they have skill. Raw, street-forged skill. Against all odds, they tear through the competition and reach the final. Their last opponent, Jose's team. Jose mocks them mercilessly, calling them the shoeless team.
They are called the shoeless ones.
The insults sting. Determined to prove themselves,
We need football boots.
the boys decide they need shoes. With no money, one of them suggests stealing peanuts from vendors, selling them, and using the cash to buy second-hand boots. Desperation wins. They go through with the plan. When the vendors notice, a chaotic chase follows, but the boys manage to escape and sell the peanuts.
Peanuts here!
At the market, Jose and his friends show up again, taunting them.
Wow, he scrubs floors and shine shoes.
This time, Deco has had enough. He throws a punch. A full brawl breaks out between the two groups. That night, Deco comes home bruised. His worried mother demands answers. He lies, saying his teacher beat him. Furious, she vows to confront the school, but his father steps in and says he'll handle it. The next day, his father takes him along to work. On the way, he reveals he already knows about the fight and about the tournament. Instead of scolding him, he gives him something far more valuable: advice. If he truly wants to play professionally, he must focus on his talent, not his anger. And most importantly, he must never feel ashamed of who he is. With his father's support, Deco feels stronger. The day of the final arrives.
Captain Jose Alcafini versus the Shoeless Ones, led by Captain Pelé.
Deco and his teammates proudly wear the second-hand boots they bought, but there's a problem. The boots are too big. As the match begins, they stumble and struggle. Jose's team takes full advantage, scoring again and again. The scoreboard climbs to 6-0, a humiliating defeat in the making. Tempers flare. Jose plays dirty and keeps teasing Deco. Just as Deco is about to lash out in anger, he spots his father in the crowd. He remembers his words. In that moment, Deco makes a bold choice. He takes off the oversized boots. Barefoot again, just like on the streets, he feels free. He grabs the ball, glides past defenders, humiliates them with dazzling footwork, and scores. The crowd gasps. One by one, his teammates remove their boots too. Now they're playing their game, the street game. They move the ball beautifully, weaving through opponents. Deco's magic on the field electrifies everyone watching. They score again and again. The comeback is unbelievable. The score tightens to 6-5, but time runs out. They lose the match, yet the crowd rises to its feet. A standing ovation echoes across the field. People begin chanting his nickname, Pelé.
After the tournament, Deco and his friends suddenly spot the peanut vendors they had robbed. Panic sets in. They run into the forest. During the escape, one of his friends trips and injures his leg. Deco helps him into a small cave for shelter. Then the rain begins. Heavy, relentless. A landslide crashes down over the cave. Deco manages to escape. His injured friend does not. When the vendors later dig through the debris, they pull the boy out, but it's too late. He's gone. Shattered by guilt, Deco returns home and tearfully tells his mother everything. He blames himself for his friend's death. For days, he barely speaks, drowning in sorrow. Trying to pull him out of the darkness, his father takes him to work. There, he starts juggling mangoes with his feet, showing him tricks, reminding him of the joy of the game. At first, Deco ignores him, but slowly he begins to join in. Mango by mango, touch by touch, the boy starts to find his way back to football and to himself. Years pass, and the boy who once played barefoot in the streets is now 15 years old. Pelé, still just P to those around him, spends his days helping his father with janitorial work. During breaks, he doesn't rest, he practices. Mangoes become his footballs, just like before. He juggles, flicks, and balances them with quiet determination. One day, his mother watches him from a distance. She sees the fire in his eyes. The way football isn't just a game for him, it's who he is. Finally understanding that this passion won't fade, she reaches out to a professional scout, Waldemar de Brito, and asks him to come see her son play. When Pelé comes home and finds de Brito waiting, his face lights up. De Brito isn't just any scout, he's a former member of the Brazilian national team. After watching Pelé, he suggests that the boy attend trials for a local team. Soon, he convinces Pelé's hesitant family to let their young prodigy leave home and try out for Santos FC. At Santos, Pelé begins professional training, but things aren't easy. The club follows a structured European style of football. Disciplined, rigid, calculated. It's nothing like the free-flowing street football he grew up playing. During practice, he struggles, he missteps, he gets scolded by his coach more than once. Doubt creeps in. Feeling out of place, Pelé decides to quit and head back home to work with his father. At the train station, de Brito catches up with him and asks why he's leaving.
I can't play like the other guys.
Pelé admits that his style doesn't seem welcome. Even the coach isn't satisfied.
De Brito explains something powerful. The way Pelé plays, the rhythm, the fluid movement, is called ginga. It dates back to the era of slavery, when enslaved Africans developed a self-defense art form to protect themselves from their oppressors. After slavery ended, that movement didn't disappear. It found a new home in street football. Ginga became Brazil's heartbeat on the field. But after Brazil's painful loss in the 1950 World Cup, many blamed that very style. Coaches began pushing young players to adopt strict European techniques instead. De Brito gives Pelé a choice: stay and prove himself or return home as a coward. After thinking it through, Pelé turns back. He chooses to fight for his place at Santos. The next day in training, he again struggles while trying to follow the coach's rigid game plan. The team falls behind and he's blamed. Teammates look down on him. The coach scolds him openly. Then something shifts. He remembers his father's advice. He remembers juggling mangoes. He sees De Brito cheering from the stands. This time, when the ball reaches him, he doesn't hesitate. He moves instinctively, weaving through defenders, gliding past them with that same rhythm from the streets. He launches into an acrobatic strike, just like he used to with mangoes. Goal. At just 15 years old, he scores his first professional goal. The coach is stunned.
What the hell was that?
The crowd erupts, and from that day on, Pelé keeps rising. He plays across the country, building a name for himself. Despite being one of the youngest players in professional competition, he moves from the youth squad to the reserves and eventually into the main team.
That's the wrong list, Chico. Welcome to the pros.
His ginga style worries his coach, but victories speak louder than criticism. One day, Pelé surprises his parents with a visit and brings gifts. He gives his father a radio. Together, they listen to the announcement of Brazil's national squad for the 1958 World Cup. Pelé doesn't expect his name to be called. He believes he's too young. Then it happens. He's selected. Joining the national team feels surreal. His teammates welcome him warmly, but the media is far less kind. Reporters question Brazil's style of play,
Do you really think your ginga style...
mocking ginga as outdated. Even the national coach warns Pelé not to rely on it.
It won't happen again.
Trying to fit in, Pelé forces himself to play the European style. It doesn't feel natural. During one session, he trips and injures his knee. The team doctor suggests he might miss the World Cup entirely. That night, Pelé calls his mother. His voice is heavy as he tells her he may not be able to play. She tells him to have faith and take care of himself.
It's the World Cup in Sweden. Football, football, football.
The 1958 World Cup begins. Brazil wins a few early matches, but the games are brutal. Several players get injured. Eventually, the coach has no choice but to send an unfit Pelé onto the field. Nervous, Pelé hesitates. He makes excuses, but the coach insists he must play for his country. Before sending him out, the coach again reminds him, play European style or else. Brazil narrowly defeats the USSR and reaches the semifinal against France. In that match, Brazil struggles badly. France scores and morale drops. During halftime, Pelé sees his injured teammates in the dressing room. Demoralized, he offers to step aside, but one teammate refuses. He admits he's mentally exhausted from trying to play European football. He urges Pelé to play ginga, to be himself. With renewed fire, Pelé steps onto the field in the second half and lets instinct take over. His speed, balance, and vision are unstoppable. He scores 3 goals, leading Brazil to a dominant 5-2 victory over France.
Brazil, what a drive and what a finish!
A few days later, at a press conference before the final against Sweden, the Swedish coach mocks Brazil's ginga style and reminds everyone of Brazil's failure in 1950. Brazil's coach storms out, frustrated. That night, Pelé calls his father. Instead of dwelling on criticism, his father tells him to unite the team. The next morning at breakfast, Pelé challenges his teammates to keep the ball in the air all the way to a nearby lighthouse without letting it drop. It requires teamwork and trust. Reluctantly, they accept. As they play together, rediscovering rhythm and joy, the coach watches. He realizes he was wrong. He tells them to embrace Ginga in the final to show the world the true Brazilian way. The World Cup final begins. Across Brazil, families gather around televisions. Early in the match, Sweden shocks everyone by scoring within 4 minutes. The Swedish defenders focus entirely on stopping Pelé, cutting him off from the ball. But Brazil doesn't panic. When Pelé finally gets possession, he unleashes a stunning goal. Momentum shifts. Brazil scores 4 more times, sealing a 5-2 victory over Sweden. For the first time in history, Brazil wins the World Cup. Teammates rush the field, lifting Pelé onto their shoulders. The scene transitions to the real moment in 1958, when history was made. In the years that follow, the Brazilian president declares Pelé a national treasure in 1961. He becomes the greatest goal scorer of his era, the youngest player to ever score in a World Cup, and the only footballer to win 3 FIFA World Cups. Pelé passes away on December 28, 2022, just 10 days after the 2022 FIFA World Cup, leaving behind a legacy that forever changed the game of football. And that brings us to the end of today's story. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more exciting and entertaining movie summaries. Also, make sure to hit the like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next recap.